So first, for people that don't know you, what's your name and title?
I'm Sarah Godlewski, and I'm the state treasurer of Wisconsin.
So first, I have a feeling a lot of people are probably asking, what does the state treasurer do here in Wisconsin? So what would you say to them if they would ask you that?
Yes, so a lot of people are familiar with treasurers because you have them in your clubs, whether it's the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, your church. And I would say we're no different. We're really the chief financial officer for the state. So we're responsible for investing, we're responsible for financial management, and we're also responsible for economic security issues like retirement savings and things like student loan debt.
So in your presentation this evening, you mentioned that the treasurer's office here in Wisconsin has been a little interesting over the past 3 years. Can you kind of explain that and why maybe people hadn't heard of the treasurer's office before?
Yes, so there was this assumption from my predecessor that the state treasurer didn't do anything. And so it's easy to show that the state treasurer doesn't do anything when you just don't go to work every day. I mean, regardless of the position, if you don't go to work, the position could be considered not very helpful. But the reality is it's never been the position. The position is empowered to do a lot of things, like it's the chief investor for a $1.2 billion school trust fund. We are the sole investor, or the sole oversight for school funds. It also helps with financial management. It looks at unclaimed property programs, so making sure you as a citizen of Wisconsin get your property back if the state ever has it. So there's a lot of different responsibilities that have been neglected, and so our primary goal is to make sure that we reinvigorate those responsibilities and actually serve the people of Wisconsin.
So with the recent neglect of the position, do you think that maybe why people don't really know much about the treasurer's office in the state or what it does?
Absolutely, yes. So we have been traveling all over the state doing very similar things to what we did today in Wausau. So talking about what the state treasurer does, how it impacts your day-to-day life, and also what's our vision moving forward. So it's not just about fulfilling those statutory requirements, it's also about addressing things like a $24 billion student loan crisis, or when over 50% of Wisconsinites have less than $3,000 saved for retirement. What can we do to make sure people are set up for success?
So then what are kind of the main goals of this new kind of reinvigorated treasurer's office going forward?
So we have three kind of core areas. Our first is to be the state's fiscal watchdog. So it's providing transparency and accountability. One of the things that we realized in our office is that when our predecessor did not fund, for example, returning property back to people, we were losing out on $10 million a year, which is a significant $10 million, you can do a lot of that things in Wisconsin. So one is to continue to be transparent and accountable. The second thing is looking at win-win investments. So an example of that is we recently provided financing to Washburn County for their wastewater treatment center to build solar panels on top of it. So not only did they decrease their energy costs by 50%, but they also provided a new way of cleaning water in Washburn County. So that's like a win-win investment. And then the third bucket is looking at economic security. So how do we make sure that people are set up for a financially healthy future? So like retirement, student loan debt, savings accounts, financial literacy, those types of issues.
So when people hear treasurer, they probably think money and they probably think the state budget. So what is the treasurer's involvement in the state budget, or is there any involvement at all?
So that's a really interesting relationship, because you're right, people just assume, oh, treasurer and budget, when the reality is that the way that our state government is structured is that the governor and the legislature, they tax you, they then tell you how you're going to spend your money, and then they spend your money. The treasurer is literally the person that comes back to say, did you spend my money the way that you said you would? And that's the way that it's structured in the Constitution. It's an independent custodian, so it doesn't take tax dollars to run the office. And so that's its role. It's not like saying we need this amount of money for roads or this amount of money for Medicare. It's really that kind of financial watchdog role is how it should be, is how it's structured in the Constitution.
So what would you say was the main feedback you heard tonight from the public here in Wausau?
So I think a lot of people were curious about what the state treasurer does and what does it do for them. And I just, earlier today, someone said, I never knew that, you were responsible for investing $1.2 billion, or you were the ones that made sure property taxes were low because you provide money to public schools for books and technology, or that retirement is such a big issue in Wisconsin and we're falling behind. And so I think that there was a lot of learning and a lot of really good conversation. We got good recommendations on things we should be thinking about in the future, and we look forward to continuing this conversation and coming back to Wausau again soon.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's good to be in Wausau, and I think one of the things as a fellow kind of central western Wisconsinite is it's important that we leave Madison and we do these listening sessions and we do these educational sessions, because the only way we can make government better is when it works for the people. And so asking people directly for feedback is how we go about doing that. So we look forward to coming back again soon.